Anyway, the reason I'm doing this all stems from the well, okay. When I was born, my mother had two miscarriages. Okay, or not miscarriage; they were live births actually, and so she had my oldest brother 3 years before me, and then she lost two as live births, and they named one of them. The second one they didn't name, and then my mom and dad were at a funeral in Detroit, Michigan, not far from Jefferson Avenue, and it was around noon, and my mother was pregnant with me, and around noon, when the casket was lowering into the grave, the water broke, and it spilt onto the grave of my dad's favorite aunt, Josephine, and her husband was some big guy in the government too. So anyway, they rushed my mom over to the St. John's Hospital right there in Detroit, Michigan. Now it's called Ascension. I think it's St. John Ascension Hospital. And I was born, and they put me in an incubator because I was like 3.5 months too early. So I didn't have a liver yet. The kidney wasn't formed, and a lot of other stuff. So my mom couldn't hold me. My mom told that story to a lot of the girlfriends that I dated, okay? Because she'd come out here on vacation, and I, we after my work, I'd always go. My mom and dad had a vacation home in Marina Pacifica where you could park your boat in front of your house, and I lived in Redondo, and we always get together, and I'd take my girlfriend, and my mom would always grab her and say, "Oh, well, I got to tell you a story about Sean, how he was born," because it was a big deal to her. I mean, she thought she was going to lose a third one, right? So, it didn't happen. And then
Wow.
in 1990, I was doing a medium range unmanned air vehicle with Teledyne Ryan, which did the Spirit of St. Louis. They actually are now Northrop, and I set it up for Northrop to buy them. I did the whole presentation, and I gave it to the president and of Teledyne Ryan. He gave it to Northrop, and they bought them. So it does happen. And then I went on to Boeing. So, but when the reason I was laid off from that is they started remember when they invaded Kuwait, and we did that war. Well, when you're working on a R&D project, a classified one, or just R&D basically, all R&D stops and all money goes to a war. So I was in between jobs, and I was set up for Boeing. Boeing takes at least 6 months to review you and your background before they'll even accept you. So that always takes a while. But anyway, so I got a dream, and this dream is where I woke up on a cold slab. I don't know, marble slab of some sort. But there was 12 monks around me in dark robes, and they were all chanting, beautifully chanting some kind of words that were beautiful. And I didn't understand them, and I'm just waking up from nowhere land. And then I look to my right, and there's stairs going up, and it was like I was in a sewer hole. So I walk up these stairs, and the manhole opens up automatically, and I'm kneeling to get out, and to the right of me is Jesus Christ. And
Wow.
you could feel the love from him. It's like the infinite love. It's like if your parents were so proud of you that you did something spectacular, and then times that times affinity. Okay, that's the love you feel. So, which is weird because that's pride. So you shouldn't, but the prideness of them on you was the feeling I felt. So
Wow.
anyway, he grabbed his left hand grabs my right hand. I stand up, and we start walking to the way he was going to the left of me, and I could see buildings on fire, cop cars on fire, things overturned, um, and I just started yelling out. I go, just believe. Believe in him with all your heart, soul, mind, and body. He's right here, and I'm pointing to him. He's right here, holding my hand, and all I could hear was all these people yelling at me. Well, if he's a good God, he wouldn't let this happen to me. He wouldn't let that happen to me. And what about my car? And what about my house? And what about my computer? Or all this? What about me? What about me? What about me? And then the people with the evil hearts that would never get back to anyone else, when he heard them talk or something, he would just look at them and they wouldn't commit to themselves, and he would vaporize them immediately. They would just be boom, and you'd see just a little bit of dust, doom, and they'd be gone. And it was just amazing. Well, that was 1990, and now in 2008, I moved from Harrison Township, right there at 16 Mile and Jefferson, and I lived at the Harbor Yacht Club and had a boat in the backyard, and I was at the closest to the water, and my whole apartment burnt down. And even it was late. It was August, so even the fireboats that went there to put it out, they couldn't do it because it was late summer and all the seaweed. They had screen doors. They were pushing down screen doors to make it put out the fire. My entire history of my life burned up. So during that time, and I came back to California to do the 747-8 and certify it and make it happen and build it, right? So anyway, during that time, I had the exact same dream, but in a lot more detail. And this time, a lot more detail. And I could see his eyes were hazel, exactly like mine. And I could see his height was exactly like mine. We're both 6 feet tall. And we both have hazel eyes. They used to be blue, but now they're hazel. So anyway, and then I could see that there was going to be a pandemic coming, the disease and the plagues. So I said, well, that seems to be like the important thing. And Obama was just in office. So Obama sent me a thing. His friend, Valerie Jarrett. Actually, Valerie Jarrett ran the White House. So that she would stay with them sometimes overnight. So heck, it's two guys. You got Mike and Barack. So anyway, she would be the one. And I did a White House jobs forum for him. And I had everyone from both the oil industry, space, aircraft, automotive, all my buddies come to my Christmas party, and I did a jobs forum with them. And I gave it back to him. Well, the very first State of the Union that Barack Obama gave, more than 94% of it was exactly what I wrote to him. And what was amazing, because I shared it with everyone I worked with and my Boeing buddies, and they go, my God, this guy said everything Sean was saying. So anyway, so what I was going to do is I was going to have we just had Arnold Schwarzenegger because we got rid of the last guy because he broke the law a lot. And we had Governor Arnold. And Governor Arnold, because this 747 was going to be the last airplane built in California. And so I was going to have him sign the new main deck door, right, to this big new airplane. And he was going to sign it. And then I was going to have Barack Obama sign off the whole airplane to the people of Lufthansa. The coolest thing is Lufthansa comes from where Governor Arnold was born, right?
Oh, wow.
From his area. So it was a cool thing. Well, it was supposed to happen on April 1st. Because of the politicians at the leadership at the place, they said, oh, we got all this attention now. Hey, let's sell this company and make more money because this is the last thing we can do. So anyway, they didn't go with me. And they went right next to us where they just started SpaceX. And Elon was there with his first red Tesla car. And they were cruising up and down Jack Northrop Avenue, okay? And I go, son of a bitch. So that's where Governor Arnold went. He didn't get to come see us and sign the door like he was gonna, make it a big deal. And that was actually on the LinkedIn White House group. So anyway, then after that, 2011 happened and my mom had passed on. Aww. And after she was into the grave, that evening, I kept hearing a song, If I Could Dream by Elvis, There must be light burning brighter somewhere. That song. And it was going over and over again, like 20 times or so. And I go, Dimmer, my wife's nickname is Dimmer. Dimmer, do you hear that? No, Sean, you went through a lot. Just get some sleep. And I'm looking, I go, nah, it's my mom's favorite song and my song. And If I Could Dream. So I go down to the my dad's recording studio, nobody there. Went over to where my cousin was staying, nobody there, not my brother. I don't know, and they have a nice estate right there by Stony Creek. And it was in Stony Creek Estates, right on the corner, the white one. Anyway, what happened is I start falling asleep, but still hearing that song. Then this beautiful rush of love, even better than when I walked with him, okay? This time I felt it inside of me, like it came in from my left side, from my brain, from the left side, and it just took over me. And I could see the future. I could see so I hear Elvis and my mom talking, and they're laughing about things. They say, oh yeah, look at John, he thinks he's so poor. Little does he know he's gonna help millions of people around the world. And then they start laughing, yeah, but he doesn't know that. And I go, okay, do this. And they're laughing something about my money. They're gonna make something happen with money. And they're laughing. Elvis is coming up with these ideas, by the way. It's not my mom. Okay, she had a little bit of input, but mostly Elvis is a practical joker. And he could, you know how his laugh is. He's having a ball. He goes, oh yeah, let's do that too. And then the last, oh yeah, we could do that. So they did 3 practical jokes. Bounce money out of my account, which they did. It came from Western Union. It was in my bank account at B of A for 4 days. And they somehow took it off like the Western Union bounce, which only they could do. The second was on Christmas Eve, my entire computer died, and it was less than 1 year old. Brand new HP. And then New Year's Eve, I go see a friend I haven't seen since doing that secret program in San Diego, and my car died right at the top of the hill. And it had no... And then I had to stay there over New Year's Day until the 2nd, but I could drive the car right up onto the thing, took it to a shop, nothing wrong. So that happened in 2011 and then the beginning of 2012. Well, when that Black Panther movie came out, the second one, and that guy had died, and you know how the second one starts with his funeral from the Black Panther movie? Well, on that day, I went to see the Black Panther movie, and I got a major download of exactly how to stop nuclear war. And I'm watching the movie, understanding it, and on the other side, I could understand and get this huge download. And when I come back out of the movie, I go, Dr. Hyland, we have to present this to the world. I go, if we put these together and we do it the right way, we can stop all nuclear war forever. Why don't we even approach it that way? He goes, well, I was trying to tell you, but I didn't have it matured enough. And I go, all right, let's get a presentation together. We'll do it for American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. And we did that. And it was for clean energy. But during that, so I let Hyland go first because he says, well, I'm the senior here. I go, yeah, and you invented it. Go ahead. I knew he'd bore the people to death at the beginning. That's really slow. But that's okay. It's at least recorded in history, so now they know. And then, but there was a one point in time, and I said, well, now that we know how to do this, we could stop all world wars and vaporize everything in the world, any threat anywhere in the world, because we designed it for asteroids coming to Earth. And NASA said, yeah, you could do that. He goes, and then they sent it on to Mike Coyote Smith at Advanced Space Systems Command in Colorado. And he said, oh, you just changed world war forever. Yeah! Now a fighter jet can't touch you, a hypersonic, a missile. You can vaporize everything except for a tank or except for a submarine underwater. That's the only thing we can't vaporize. Other than that, we can vaporize everything. And he was in charge of Advanced Space Force. So that's why I call out, we have to have him and Stephen Kwan. So we gave the presentation and a lot of bad luck started. Oh, by the way, yes, they bounced money again magically. I don't know how. They made my car, my entire brain had to get redone. I think it was an electromagnetic pulse to it or something. Wow. And then and my motorcycle. Fortunately, they didn't know about my boat. My boat kept working. So anyway, so the whole thing happened again in 2023. And then I had some crazy neighbors that pretended that they lived in my house and I was going to kill my wife, and neither of us was there. And anyway, they were doing bad stuff, and I was so Trump went undercover. They had a police rally. It was while he was running for office in 2024, 2023, 2024. Anyway, he was having a rally with all the Long Beach police people and the fire department. And then he pretended he was some guy, some country guy. And he went undercover to say some prayers by me. And then, so there's a lot of events that happen to make this happen. So later so that's why I'm on this mission. This is a true mission from God. And it's been proven because they wouldn't play the same practical jokes twice, right? All three of them twice. Now it's matured enough that it's time to happen. So actually, after doing the Trump thing, and then Elon contacted me, and then remember in 2024 we had that big eclipse in April, and I went down to see him and the Space Force, and he couldn't make it. He says, I talked to him face to face like this, He goes, I'm sorry, Sean. I had to let 2 of my administrators go. It's very hard to find people who you can trust nowadays that aren't going to be leaking to the press what I'm doing, right? You can imagine how hard it is for him to find people. So anyway, so him and I became friends, and we on Telegram, and we talked to each other almost daily. I wasn't very good at it because I don't like talking on social media like that. So he was more than I was, but we're just a few years apart. So the reason that I'm doing this is we know it's meant to be. And this is this. So I started writing this second book here, The King is Rising Again, and that I am going to fulfill. And Elon always said, Sean, you have to. Elon says to me, Sean, you have to run this through the new Grok. And I go, okay. Everything I'd run through Grok would tell me to do something different. So and Grok said, okay, explain your book of what happened to you, but in the back, make sure you tell exactly how they have to make this happen. So my goal by Easter this year is to have my book finished. So that way people can see what we're doing. Now, by Easter this year, we better have a job working directly with the Space Force, because I really need to be the customer on this one, because I know what they have to do to certify it to make it work. I don't trust other people with their own ideas coming up with things that are not given to you by God, and to do things right, not bad. So anyway, that's the mission. Okay. So I told you my birth, I told you about walking with Jesus, and I told you about my mom. Oh, so when the Holy Spirit took me above the earth, just like in what was that guy that they took above the earth before? Remember, they took him above earth and he could see everything. Well, what I could see is in the future was a caliphate, and they were burning down cities and stuff like that. And I could tell it was all Islam over, and we had to overcome Islam. That was going to be the biggest number one threat. And then my mother also in 2022, 23, she told me, Sean, I'm sorry, I was deceived, because she goes, I really like Elon, or I really like Barack Obama. And she goes, but Barack is very much a deceiver, Sean. And I go, okay. And then the Holy Spirit showed me when human beings first started walking, okay, and we were talking to each other barely. What we were doing is we were mimicking sounds of Mother Nature and all the animals. We didn't have languages. So what we would see is we'd see lightning come down, hit a tree, it would break a branch off, and it would cause a fire. So it was fire coming down from heaven. That was called Barak. The sound that it made is Barak. If you duplicate the sound, it's Barak. Obama that comes afterwards is the thunder from the heavens. So that's really thunder, because they didn't know weather. So anyway, that's where it came from. So that's where his name came from. And that's in Aramaic. So I figured that out now. So now I'm going to blast through this. This is for later. This is just proof that Jesus existed. The reason I'm doing this, because I asked God, God, how do I explain this to him in the right way? And he goes, okay, Sean, follow the 2 commandments. He goes, love God first with all your heart, right? And I go, oh, okay, well, looks like I know what I have to do. So, so that's why I thought I'd start out with this. Okay. And love him with all your heart and soul and mind. And I think I put that in here. Da, 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 da. Was it on the first sheet? Did I have him on the first sheet? I might have. Oh, yeah, I did. See this? The first and greatest. Love thy Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind. And then love your neighbor as yourself. Those are the 2 commandments, right? The new commandments. So, and then when does, you know, when did Jesus kick Satan's ass? When he died and when he resurrected. Satan thought he beat us when he died. But then when he resurrected and went down to hell and grabbed the keys to Hades, and he brought up, all the Abraham and all the prophetic teachers from the earlier days and everyone, he brought them up to heaven. Amazing that they have recorded events of that, people seeing people from the dead actually walking around from a grave. It's amazing how there's so much documentation out there.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to see Jack Hibbs this evening too, his Wednesday event. So these are the stories that I just told you. Oh, this I thought was cool. The reason I did this one is so after that event, and I knew I was going to give a big presentation to like Elon Musk and eventually Donald Trump. And so they were supposed to start with like Elvis, the 2001 Space Odyssey song. You know how he starts his concerts. It's supposed to be like that, but I have to walk out always saying, I am not him. I'm just showing you what can be. And this is a costume in honor of him. And it should always be in honor of him. Everything we should do should be in honor of him. And so what I was supposed to do is I was supposed to walk out, get down on my knees, and take their shoes off and wash their feet and anoint them with oil on their feet and also on their forehead. And I was going to say, the reason I did this is that the lesson learned here is never worship people or money. That's the whole point. And so if God came back to earth, that's what to my opinion, that's what he'd like to see. So, so never worship. And who do you think has more fame and money than Elon and Trump? Right? A lot of people, but they have the fame too. Yes! Who had the most fame, like at one time, was Elvis, and who was probably the most loved person? Probably Elvis. So anyway, it was nice that he was there to, and then when his daughter died, he came back to me once just to say he was going to Nirvana. So I go, oh, you're going to be married to, he said, I'm going to be married, wedded or something like that. And I knew he was going, his daughter died and he was going to Nirvana with her. And that's what happened. So, and same thing happened when Nabil Qureshi died. So I luckily get nice spirits visiting me before they go to Nirvana. So it's nice. This is something I can't argue with. So I have to put it there, right? The oldest human DNA. Everyone that thinks it's Africa and any other place in the world, this is a fact. This is the truth. When you come up with something better, go ahead and tell me. I love this one, and I got to make this so it's easier to read for people. But did I ever show you this yet?
No.
Okay. So my wife and I went to Thailand because that's where she's from originally. I'm going to make this so it's easier to see next time. I'm still working this. But anyway, in Thailand, there's a place there's this big city. You see them in all the martial arts movies and stuff in Chiang Mai, and we rode elephants there and stuff. But anyway, there's a plaque on the wall, and this is what it said. There's a story about this. First of all, it says, there was one of the disciples of Buddha, and he asked him, what will the characteristics of the Holy One be like? And the Buddha answered him, the Holy One who will keep the earth in the future will be like this. In the palms of his hands and in the flat of his feet will be designs of a disc. And it's actually reference of holes. I got to put holes in there because that's what it meant. In the side will be a stab wound, and in his forehead will have many marks like scars. And it goes on. This Holy One will be the golden boat who will carry you over the cycles of rebirth all the way to the highest heaven, nirvana. Do not look for salvation the old way. There is no salvation in it for sure. Quit the old way, and there will be a new spirit like the light of a lightning bug in all of your hearts, and you will be victorious over all your enemies. No one will be able to destroy you. If you die, you will not come back to be born again in this world again. You will go to the highest heaven, nirvana. And this is in the Tibetan Buddhist history encyclopedia. So, and it's written right there.
Wow.
So, isn't it cool? 500 years before Christ, the Buddha talked about Christ 500 years before. And did you know Buddha actually met Daniel? Because they were at the same time. So Daniel and the Buddha met each other. I know. So look at these two sometime. They're a couple hours each, but it proves that the entire Quran didn't exist for more than a few hundred years after there could have been a Muhammad. Muhammad, there was no such thing as Muhammad because there was no such name as Muhammad back then. And all the figures that showed Muhammad was MHMD, and it showed a picture of Christ. So, but see, Ishmael and the Arabs, they didn't have a savior, so they needed to come up with a story. And the Ottomans needed to subdue and control all the people that were going to work for them and they were going to tax. So they came up and invented this bullshit. So anyway, believe me, I lived in Dearborn. I was surrounded with these people, and most of them don't understand their own Quran and they don't read it, so, but and even in the Quran, chapter 3, verse 54, Allah is the best of all marker, which is shyster, conniver, deceiver, schemer, a liar. Even in their own book, it says that. What I just discussed, and then see right here, the man whom most Muslims are dependent on, who their prophet is and what he did, was only 160 years ago from Germany. Isn't that amazing? Nabil, so up in this corner, see? Up in the corner, it says, they say, well, Jesus never died and resurrected. Okay, well, one of the Quran things uses a surah right up in this corner right here. It says, look at this. So peace on me. So peace is on me the day I was, they're talking about Jesus. Jesus came from a virgin. And actually Quran says that. And so this is them talking about Jesus. So peace is on me the day I was born and the day I die and the day I shall be raised up to life again. Boom. Even Islam proved of Christ. How come you don't hear that? So I'm arming you with some damn good stuff. So on this one, remember my mom said he was a deceiver, so I had to look right away into the deception. And so there's Barak, which means lightning, and it would be Aramaic word 1299, and then the Aramaic word 111 or 1115 is Bama, which is thunder, but its meaning to be high, the high place from heaven, right? And this is why I always say Luke 10:18. And Jesus said unto them, I beheld Satan as Barack Obama. That's what he said out of his mouth. Lightning from heaven. So, ta-da. And then all these things are the things he did. And they're all sealed. Now, his birth certificate, I have. If you click on this link, you can see his real birth certificate. And those are his feet prints. And this is a province of Kenya. So he's a scam. He's a scandaler. And he's a false, whatever you want to, whatever you want to call him. He's the bad guy. Let's call it what it is. And I used to talk to him and he was really funny. So anyway, now I'm going to keep, you already know about me, Dave. Oh, we want one of these. We want to do a new IMIP, which connects the Department of War, industry, academia, and civilians. to do all this work that we want to do. And we want to educate America to do that, which means they should be ITAR approved as being an American citizen. Because believe me, India would want to get in here and eat our lunch and make money off it, because that's all they do is they steal, make money off it, and then sell it back to you, just like China does. But remember, Japan used to do it. Samsung, you know how Samsung was created. Remember Ericsson, all those electronics we bought from Kmart? That's Samsung. That's where Samsung was created from. So I'm like, oh. So anyway, you know how my buddy Paul Werbos is in Norway? Okay. Well, and he says, you know, Trump's got egg on his face now because of not getting Greenland. And I'm thinking, what? He goes, it's not important anyway. So I go, this is why, look at this. This is why Greenland. I go, okay, that ain't enough. I go, look at this picture. This is why Greenland, right? You put one here, you put one here. Canada selling out to China. Can you believe that idiot is selling out to China? I mean, it just doesn't. I'm sure he's playing ball to get the most out of him and that he can, right, for negotiations. Even though the prime minister is an English person from England, he's not from Canada. So, but they don't anyway. So let's go on. So this is what we're making, right? And you know, you've seen the video enough. I'm not going to yap in this. Back in 1988, 89, I think it was early 89. It might have been late 88. And we set off almost a nuclear explosion in outer space. And LaRouche was the name in charge of the program. We actually sent enough power, like a nuclear reactor, and we blew up a missile silo in New Mexico, and that ended Russia. They could not compete with us. And we proved that we could vaporize something from outer space. So what we're doing is nothing new now. So, and you know, I had to talk to an editor of the Aviation Weekly. I go, you know, I tried to look it up and it doesn't show up. He goes, yeah, but I remember the story. I know it's true. So anyway, it is true and I've seen it. So, and even Aviation Weekly has it. So all the editors, I've got all their names and numbers. So we're way down here for cost because we're not standard utility scale photovoltaics, which is solar cells and lithium ion storage. We actually have to put ours in outer space. But we are a lot more productive in outer space because we can have 100% utility rate of getting sun. And not only that, but we could beam, because we're surrounded the Earth. On the dark side, we could beam all the way to the dark side anytime they need more demand. So it doesn't matter. They can receive and transmit energy. So and by the diameter shape, you'll see in geo orbit that the Earth, even with the Earth up there, we still have energy all the time on those things. And Highland went through that in a lot of detail with the Space Force on our 2024 presentation, I think it was. So, but here's what it's cool about. Because it's a directed energy weapon, and you know, ours would be in outer space, but we could do everything that is showing here. Everything this does, we could do. So now, oh, well, that's just pie in the sky. All right, pie in the sky. There you go. China already has these mobile directed energy weapons. I don't see us having them, but see, ours don't have to be this kind. It doesn't have to have a giant generator system in it, right? 3,000 microwave weapon for counter drones. This is how you vaporize a swarm coming at you. So ours, all you have to do is roll out a piece of fabric anywhere. Boom, it's done. It doesn't matter. Like the old picture we had. And actually, if we had that fabric surrounding all our military bases, that would stop any intruders, and it could vaporize any intruders from in space. So anyway, let's continue. So remember, I say see the entire universe, right? So time to wed heaven and earth, right? You're seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's. Time to wed heaven and earth. If we send these satellites throughout, when I have them in all the different orbits, and I have them on the other side of the moon, I have them at every planet. And remember, once they're out there, because they're actually photonic radiation, they're photonic radiation propulsion based on thermal. These actually are a space propulsion system. So once they're out there, you could have one whole side that pushes your ass to the direction you want to go to. And the only thing that keeps you going from interstellar is an entire a real fusion energy system. And that's why I said that's why we need TAE. And in one of these, I talk about using TAE. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. Now, if we have these satellites everywhere in every different orbit, all throughout the universe, and I can travel backwards at 300,000 kilometers per second. I'm going faster backwards or forward than the universe. Okay. Here's the Earth rotation, 0.46 kilometers per second. The sun Earth orbiting the sun, right? Only 29.8. Sun around the entire Milky Way. That's fast, 230 kilometers per second. We're still doing 300,000. Oh, how about the entire microwave of all the universes? 600 kilometers per second. That's what it's growing at, which means I can go back and fast and forward faster than that with electromagnetics, which means if I have the satellite constellations up there, I could have an Earth correction system, which means if something's going to happen, I could tell it backwards to prevent this from happening by sending messages backwards.
Yes!
And actually you send the most important messages right away. What you have to fix right away, right? You don't tell them the devastation, you tell them how to fix it right away. And that's really how this constellation of satellites will work. Not only will they vaporize all asteroids and all missiles and all fighter jets and all hypersonics, it also creates an electromagnetic field. So as the sun grows bigger and red, like a red dwarf, like it shows right here, okay, we're headed to this guy right here. We're here right now, present day. We're going to become a red dwarf, okay? So instead of being, like the Bible says, we're going to be swallowed up and all the materials and stuff are, well, to delay that from happening, or if not totally get away from it, we can nudge Earth into a better orbit away from it because they're photonic rockets. And now here's our mission. Since we know where this location is, we got to go 13.5 billion years back with the James Webb Space Telescope. We now know that this is the location for what we know as the very beginning of our celestial body or our existence. The red dust, it's just a giant red dust donut. And that started gravity and everything. Now what's in front of it is a true creator, and that's too complicated for most people to understand, so I'm not going to go there. So
but that's partly where Occupy Mars comes from.
Huh?
His enthusiasm to occupy Mars.
Well, we need to occupy Mars because, well, Mars used to be an inhabited and alive planet. It's almost twice our age. So that used to be an Earth. It got knocked out of position and burned up. And that's why, and then it takes 2 years to get close to us. So its orbit sucks now because it was knocked out of place. And if you look at the Theia, there's NASA always considers the thing Theia is a giant asteroid coming, hit Earth, and then that created the moon, but it hit Mars, hit Earth, and then that created our moon, and then that created Earth in a better location and to become what it is today. And that's at the beginning, and we were created 4 billion years back, right? Not even. So now I know I took you too far out there. Okay. I talked about religion. I talk about time travel. I talk about space travel. Let's see. Let's see if this is real. Oh, China already did teleportation. Hey, you know, if we have our foundation of these satellites up there, it creates the foundation. It is a foundation to do teleportation. And China already took a satellite and did teleportation from Beijing to Shanghai. Where was it from? It said 2 different places. Tibet. I know it did a station in Tibet. Yeah, it used well, I know it, if you read it, it went from one place to another place. But what they did is they could do the quantum state of photons and moving it from teleported from one place to another. So, and that's really the beginning of real teleportation. If you want to get to Star Trek world, that's what you have to do. And you notice I always put a link to everything on everything I ever create. So teleportation is not outside of reality now. So this gives you a reason of why you want to do this. So now today they had at the Aerospace Defense Showcase, there was a lot of AI people, mostly drone people, but the things they're doing at AI is really good right now. So this is what we really need to do. As you guys know, we need to make these balloons for all atmospheres. They're not really balloons. If you go back and look at Batman Begins movie, and the guy head of R&D was Morgan Freeman, and he talks about it was a memory material, not a memory metal, because we have memory metals, and all of us know that memory metals. I mean, heck, look at your radiator temperature thing. That's memory metals, right? So we have memory materials, right? More advanced, because we go down to nanos, right? So now that you can do memory materials, the people that were the head of that NASA SAIL program, Dr. Hyland and I were talking to him, and we said, well, once we get it out there, we could use the same way they did NASA ECHO, where the temperature change in outer space will actually cause this to inflate. But once it's inflated, we can actually shape it with these materials, the memory materials. If you go to that Batman Begins and you look at the memory material, you see how it can lock into any shape you want, which means they could be a balloon, but we could shape them to do something different too. If we find a different shape that's better, we could shape it into that while it's in space. So it doesn't have to be a giant diameter, okay? And remember, each satellite is made up of 1,000 different patches. Now they could be random. You know, Highland always pushes the random one, so that way, if something should wipe it out, one section of it, the rest of it still works, right? You still got the other 1,000 patches that are, each one's a satellite. So each one's equivalent of like 100,000 satellites for one balloon, right? So anyway, so that's what we want to do. Now, I'm going to continue on from here. Now, here's the new National Defense Strategy. And this is this year. So, okay. Homeland and hemisphere. So we really care about the homeland and hemisphere. As you've seen on those pictures, when Highland or Werbos is saying, oh, Trump's got egg on his face. Well, he really doesn't, but him with doing what he's doing and locking up our hemisphere as being, you know, not where people are going to destroy us. So this is a well thought out, bulleted approach. So prior to, you know, I like what he said right here. The department will prioritize the most important, consequential, and dangerous threats to American interests. Fentanyl that kills 100,000 kids a year. That's number one, right? That should be. It's bigger than a war. So all these things, he's got the right thing. So can you imagine eventually being able to vaporize a gun out of a human's hand before they can pull the trigger? We're going to get that good someday. And some of the people in that showcase I seen today, they can already identify see-through things. Okay, there's a lot of AI see-through capabilities, and we'll be using that. But being able to see through, once you can see through, means that eventually you'll be able to manipulate electromagnetic protons to be able to do that. So one step at a time, but we're getting there. So, and this is what I always say. The Power Wave solar fabric is just that. You could buy it right now. You could go online to Amazon and buy solar fabric. It's flexible and stuff. And I have some. I put it on my boat. Is you could power up a boat with it. So, but that one doesn't have antennas on it, so you can't beam outward and you can't receive anything. The protected grid is that with a grid system. It has a scrim cloth like your screen door at your house, but it runs 60 decibel current through it, creating a Faraday cage, and that is the protected grid. And then when it's on land use, like when we go and tarp the transformers and the large electric conversion systems down at our grid systems, we'll just put our Instagrid over top of it, but it's called protected grid because it's going to be. We also want it with like Dyneema. We want Dyneema, Kevlar, maybe a matrix of certain things, and we want it bulletproof because in California, 3 times they've already shut our grid down by shooting bullets at the transformers up in San Francisco, Silicon Valley area. So this is to prevent that from happening. But the coolest thing is it gets a signature pattern and it gets a ID, which means we could beam from a satellite in outer space right down to that material. And we could actually feed the grid system existing where it is. No big deal. So that's why that's important. So you do the Instagrid with the transmission capabilities and boom. Now the ones that don't have the transmission, like the fuel trucks, right? Or a tanker for an airplane. I mean, you wrap this material over top of that and you keep yourself from being shot by a missile, right? And for airplanes, like when I wrote the paper, it's for airplane skins. It creates a force field around the aircraft, which prevents it from ever being struck by missile and bullets and other things. It's really an electromagnetic armor. And I was a systems engineering in charge of survivability, and electromagnetic armor was one of the things we were looking at doing. Well, this is one. So anyway, so that's the evolutionary model. These are the teams we've already talked about. I actually don't want to focus on these guys right here as we talk as this team, because these people have enough bureaucracy they have to clean out just to do this work anyway. But everyone on here needs to be involved in the government to do this. And that's why I have to have a direct government type of job. This is the people that have to get it done. Elon even says that he's going to make solar AI satellites in outer space in the next 3 years. Well, that should be us, basically. So that means Tesla and SpaceX, because they got to deliver it, will have to be up there. Okay, so that's us. And you already know this, and I like this one. Our team formation, this is the most important question. I have to get this to them. It needs to be their choice. Access Elon's choice plan, because remember, they get to see the bigger picture way better than we do. We can lay out exactly what we want to do, but they need to set it up. But and while he's in office, and these are key players: General Stephen Kwan, retired Colonel Mike Coyote Smith, and my friend Eric Prince, who you see him sitting next to Bongino all the time. So. And in this book, my dad told me about this. Now I have to read it. The Golden Age. Actually, if you look at Trump, my dad was saying, I'm reading this book, The Golden Age, by a girl named Red Pill. And he goes, it's just amazing how Trump is setting everything up. So that way, it's just like the Bible to create 1,000 years of peace. So now I have to read that book. So I guess he's doing this logically to do that. So. Yeah, so The Golden Age is something I want to read. And this is my old team. Only one of them died in that one. Thank God Werbos and Highland didn't die, thank God. This is the structure, what they have. These are who I'm looking at that we have to communicate with, okay? Out of the planned spending, there's 2026. Damn this thing. So we need the Secretary of War and everyone in there. All those people need to know about this. Department of Operational Test and Evaluation. it has to be this team. Okay. And look at who they have. Land expeditionary. Expeditionary means through water and land, right? That's expeditionary. Air warfare. Okay. Naval. I told you we can't vaporize. You can't go through the thickness of the ocean and be able to vaporize it. You just can't. So don't think of it. That's a stupid idea. But here's what you can't do. Lasers. Once there's water, lasers will follow the path of the water, as you've seen in demonstrations. So lasers, that's why lasers can't be you can communicate up in outer space together that way, but you can't send it down to Earth because it has too many it could divert from its original path based on barometric pressure and water absorption. So that guy, and then this guy, space and strategic warfare. Cyber, of course, is important. So this is the team, okay? And this I always liked because effective leadership, lead yourself, get out of the way. I like what our buddies from Michigan said, Lee Iacocca. He always said, you lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way, right? Right? Remember him with EDS, Ross Perot? So anyway, dive in, communicate, take action, deep work, prioritize, deep work, frequent, swiftly. And this, I still use this one here because since we did it at 777, it still works better. Meet regularly and often like us.
We will make America great again.
My Trump.
We will make America great again.
Thank you, Donald Trump. He had to say that before we ended. And this is the end. These right here are the best meeting notes and guidelines. So I like the one how they end with have fun. Sure. And he always says, most of us here chose our career path and we're doing it. So wouldn't you want to have fun doing it? And always call and always make sure you take time out of your day and call the people that you love, because not only do we employ you, but we employ them, because when you're happy, they're happy. And sometimes you're going to have to make commitments to us that, we'll pay you for it, but you're going to have to work like 24 hours in a day one time. And I have for Saturn and GM. So anyway, that's why it's really important to have fun, follow up and follow through. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Oh, there's one more. So here's a good start. A defense threat reduction agency. That's what it should have. And now that should be depending on what Trump thinks it is. And these are our two paths, right? Harmoniously versus whatever. And then all those that are doctors or PhDs, I love this because everyone thinks they're so damn smart. But when they read that, gosh, it's pretty hard to be as smart as you think you are, right? Wait, this one. This is nothing but Job, right? When God said, where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have an understanding. Of course not. Who laid his cornerstone in the morning stars and sang together in heavenly beings shouted for joy? Who shut in the sea with doors and burst from the moon? All of this. And here's what God told me. You got to write this down, Sean. Okay. He goes, if they're so smart, if Darwinism is correct, how do you make me a dog from a cat without a go-by? How could Darwinism make a cat from a dog without a go-by? You can't. So that'll shut down any academia, PhD, no matter what. So I always thought that's good because most of my days are spent with these kind of people. So, anyway, and I like this one. This was Ken Ham, who did he's the one that did the Creation Museum in Kentucky. I seen him Sunday at Jack Hibbs, Real Life with Jack Hibbs at
oh wow,
Hills. Yeah, I seen him Sunday, and I bought a couple of his books. But anyway, so man always thinks he's a god, right? Even the Catholic Church tells you that's your God. So no, I don't know how they got off track for that, but he did. But they believe in anything, right? Gay marriage, abortion, racism. And Christian is, Adam and Eve is one race. So there is no racism. Normal marriage, sanctity of life is one race. I thought that was nice. So there'll be more better stuff coming up. I'm still working on it. And this has to be, you know, heaven on earth. So I'm working on it. And here's one other one. Now, we don't care about our trading partners, right? There's your trading partner. Do you really care that much what France does? 2% worth, you care. That's about it. You should look at it that way. How much shit do you care about it? You know, are they shitting us gold? I love Trump always said, if they're not shitting us gold, then why in the hell are they fighting? Right? So anyway, that is the deciding factor right there. For those who don't know. And then this is nice. For startups and stuff. And then a high performance culture. I don't want us to have our own company. I want us to be a united group with all the big guys.
Yes.
If it has to become one, then we'll find out how to do that at that time. But I don't care. It's not the priority. I'm not here to get rich off this shit. I'm here to do it. So, thank you guys. I'm glad you finally recorded it.
Yes.
And now they have something to look at. So if you could make sure I get a link to that recording, so I could then share it with Elon and some of those guys, so they can get an understanding of why. Anyway,
Beautiful.
it's a good start, huh? Well, I figure I had to do this so because I already last week he got the paperwork, but he was at the World Economic Forum doing great things, right? Trump last week or